What's up, Sterile Processing Universe? It's Hank Balch back in studio right now with Kyle Louie talking about now you know big data in perioperative and sterile processing services. We've had some pretty wide-ranging conversations already here, Kyle, and we're going to jump into one that, you know, is potentially one of the most important because it talks about accountability for patient safety outcomes and the impact that good data has on this. Obviously, we all wake up in the morning, we want to do the right thing, but data or the lack of good data could actually hinder that process. Kind of lay out what the challenge is around the space and around the concept of accountability and what that has to do with data.
Yeah, absolutely. So from a conceptual perspective, accountability is ensuring that the SOP or the right way of doing things is followed every single time. And I think there's two components to that. The first, ensuring that we know what the right way to do something is established. And second, that we have visibility into tracking that right way is actually being followed. A lot of right ways and words there. I think a good example is, let's say, tracking quality events inside a hospital, right? So we're seeing majority of quality events are being caught, unfortunately, sterile in the room, right? So looking at the process we have for record keeping is a way, and I think a good example of capturing data, right? To make sure that the process is actually established and being followed. So we have compliance around that. The second component, from an accountability perspective, is making sure that we're actually doing something with this information. So I'll give you an example. I was working with a hospital on the West Coast, and they had two different systems that were tracking quality events. The first was a paper slip system in the operating room, and the second was inside their instrument tracking system. So really, at the end of the day, the compliance was actually quite good, and they were really like celebrating the fact that they were, their paper slip system was so compliant. Both of those reports, not only did they not communicate, right? So there was nobody on the back end that was translating that paper form into an electronic document that they could push into the same, funnel as their tracking system quality report and then make a tactical decision off of it. But nobody really knew where those paper reports were going. And it turned out that these paper reports were being stored in a file cabinet, and they had it was like 4 trees worth of paper that was sitting in an infection prevention's office and this is not like light data, right? This is the job, right? This is every instance that sterile processing or the operating room was not able to 100% ensure sterility or not able to 100% ensure that this patient is safe from infection. That's like the whole game, man. And this data wasn't being utilized at all. So, from a accountability perspective, they failed across the board, right? But I think that's indicative of a bigger problem, which is until, some of the more modern tracking systems, there really hasn't been a way to streamline the process of capturing, cataloging, analyzing, and using this data to make a good, impactful decision. I heard a really good quote the other day that healthcare is data rich, but we're insight poor. There's just so much that's being captured. We need a way or a vehicle that can analyze, all of this information and turn it into a condition where we can make a decision. Do we go left or right here? Or where is our biggest gap, right? So even understanding those components, I think, has been historically difficult for sterile processing, who I think in the first episode, we determined we're living in the Bronze Age. But why are we going from bronze to iron, right? We're in the cloud now, man. We need to go from bronze to the cloud. We can skip iron and steel. We don't have to spend time doing that, right?
Right. Yeah. You threw a ton of information out there for just the quality process piece and the gaps around the data there. And one of the first things that came to mind was the data that I've seen out there on quality event reporting and how low it is, just because it's kind of onerous. In the middle of the procedure, in the middle of setting up the case, you identify an issue or an error. The patient's still on the table under anesthesia. You've still got, patient care responsibilities to take care of. And now there's this little thing in the background saying, I need to remember to tell someone that there was a crack on this pair of cryols, right? How many times are you going to remember to do that? Well, the data says you're not going to remember, or you're not going to want to do it, maybe for other reasons too. And there's all these kind of factors that go into a very low reporting rate. And then on the backside, to your second point, it is reported. And then what are we doing with that data from the sterile processing side, from the IP side, from the OR side? And I'll speak quite frankly, as a sterile processing manager and director, one of the most common responses when an incident is reported from all clinical leaders that I've seen in the space, you type in the response and you say, training was given, right? Or like more education was given. And that's a response on like all these quality incidents, training. But if you're not then going back, to the data piece and looking at the insights that you brought up and saying, well, okay, if we're saying that we're training, is that having an impact on these quality events? Because if it's not, we need a different response than merely training for this. But without the data, that kind of change is really impossible.
And I think this speaks strongly to the tribal knowledge conversation we were having earlier. Historically, training was the only option we had available for sterile processing techs. More competency, more regulation, right? But now with, technology improving from the tracking system side, there's a really great tracking system out there that has the ability to mobile capture quality events. And that's impactful for a couple reasons. You're exactly right. Writing something on a piece of paper and going away from, setting up or breaking down a room, that's really hard, right? And oh, by the way, we're short-staffed and patients has already been delayed because of inventory management issues. So I'm already, my hair is on fire and it's only 7:30. So being able to, improve, or in order to make the process of capturing quality events more accessible, this tracking system provider is doing it beautifully. There's no free text. It's all drop-down menus. So all of the scheduling data, physician data, and tray data is preloaded into the system. You can literally pull out your cell phone. You log into. It's not even an app. It's on a web page. So I guess if you had like a smart refrigerator in the operating room, you'd be able to log into this and tag a quality event on it too, right? So you snap a photo of the quality event, and it's you select what room. It's already again all pre-filled. What room, what tray, what doctor, what time, and you select the type of event: sterile, non-sterile, hole in the wrap, protein, retained form, foreign matter, something like that. As soon as you hit that send button, it shoots out an email to everybody that's been pre-designated as important. So depending on the specialty, it'll go to that. It'll go to that specialty coordinator. It'll go to the right IP person. It'll go to the OR management, sterile processing, and you can even get it to go to the tech, that assembled that tray, on the bench to know, something's coming. I did something wrong. We got to fix this right now. And then making sure that's interfaceable again on priority list to make sure we can get a replacement tray in there to do that procedure is also something that happens on the back end. So from like an automation perspective, this is the kind of stuff that we need in sterile processing, right? Because right now, if you don't have that system in place, that's like 8 people that have to figure out that equation. So the SOP becomes a fire drill, right? Our standard operating process is, redundancy. This is how we're going to solve this, which I think requires more people as we begin to scale. But we've already determined we don't have enough people in sterile processing because they're leaving to go work at Walmart because the hospital doesn't value them. So, now we get into this really vicious cycle of we need more people to do it the way we've always done it. But with technology and adaptation of data to make better decisions, we can say, hey, it's actually not training that we need in order to fix this issue. We just need a we need a borescope, that's going to be able to look into these lumens, right? Or we need a better insulation checker because ours isn't working and stuff's arcing all over the place, right? So, but we'll never know that if all those records are just sitting in an IP, person's office in a filing cabinet collecting dust, and we're only getting, quality issues that are coming that actually make it down to decon.
Yeah, this quality conversation and just the quality of data, or the data of quality, is enough for its own series. So I'm I'm going to cut myself off because I know I can talk about this all day. But what we haven't done yet in a series that I kind of want to call out right now, we'll put your contact info in all the descriptions for all these episodes in case folks have questions. But can you just give a quick shout out if folks, specifically around this quality data piece, if they've got some questions for you, how would they reach out?
Best way to reach me is by text or email. I'll be happy to share my contact information. You can also go onto Aesculap's webpage. We have an awesome inquiry lead form that they can fill out, so to put it in the right place to make sure you're getting a good response. But I'm happy to, if people are making sense of my insane ramblings and they want to ask me more, I'm happy to speak with them.
Okay, well, they don't want to talk to you yet. Something tells me they're going to want to talk to you after the next episode when we talk about big data and the productivity challenges, opportunities in the space. So if you come with it this far, continue on until next episode when we bring Kyle back in studio. But until then, I want to encourage you, like we do each week here on Beyond Clean, to keep fighting dirty.